No one crosses the border without paying the cartel. We don't know who, what, where, when, why, or how things are coming across our border. And I can't do anything to help them. It is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to compartmentalize in my life. And one of the reasons why I'm speaking to you here today. I feel like Satan is ripping my heart out of my chest.
The media has been silent from the border over the last year. Is there an actual problem here in Texas?
I think the reason why the media has been silent is because there was a rancher in Texas, but her husband was killed by an illegal alien. They don't know if it was a guide or the cartel. But she said it best when no one cared about that event. And she said that it's all irrelative unless it's your relative.
¿Dónde radicas? En la colonia Campeche del Río. ¿Por qué motivo te detuvieron? Compra de cristal. El grupo Escorpión no permite la venta de cristal ni fentanilo aquí en las fronteras. ¿Están arrepentidos?
And so a majority of the people, if it's not in their face, then they're not really going to care about it. You think of the border as some far distant place that has no effect upon your daily livelihood. Up until really Elon came out and has been forcing people to look and to try to understand the problem. But it also kind of shows the importance role that influencers have on society's mind. That unfortunately for Americans, we are so celebrity obsessed that until someone who has enough clout on social media or in our social structures, and until they state something's important, us as Americans don't deem it as such.
What kind of numbers are coming in? Are there any violent criminals?
I'll tell you that we're blind. As an agency, we don't have situational awareness of the border or domain awareness. I'd rather use domain awareness, which means we don't know who, what, where, when, why, or how things are coming across our border. So as it stands now, our numbers are exponentially increasing. It really started to climb when Department of Homeland Security released a document. And that document talked about Hondurans and other nationalities that were going to be able to be reunited into the United States. Well, the Mexican cartels took that document and then told everyone in their control or custody that Americans were going to release everyone en masse. So literally within one day, we started seeing our numbers just skyrocket. We have a parallel immigration system right now, which also makes us blind. These quote-unquote legal pathways are just another way of saying we created a parallel immigration system. And whether that's through the CBP1 app, whether that's through parole abuse, whether that's through automatically assuming as someone is an asylum seeker or a refugee based off of their country of origin or their familial status when they come into the US. And so recently there was a Freedom of Information Act that was just released to the Center for Immigration Studies showing that over 200,000 people are also bypassing the southern border by flying directly from their country into the United States. So the border region is really just a transit zone, right? And that's what The pitch is, that's what the pitch is with all these mayors and everyone else along the border. Like, hey, look, our communities are safe. When you see all these thousands and millions of illegal aliens poured over the country, but they're like, yeah, but our cities are safe. So unfortunately, when people say, hey, the cartels operation control our border. The cartels operation control certain swaths throughout the United States, like in Houston. We unfortunately can't back that up with data. We can only back it up through anecdotal evidence, stories, police reports, if it actually makes the news. Every major city, you're gonna have cartels hiding in plain sight. All you'd have to do is look up, where are the opioid overdose deaths? Where are the, not just deaths, but actually overdoses that have been saved? And so there are ways to try to map this out, but unfortunately no organization has done that, has taken the time or effort to do that. The Mexican cartels dictate who, what, when, anything moves across their land and their area. And so from there, it's just like any business. They realize where they're going to be able to capitalize on their commodity. That commodity could be narcotics. That commodity, unfortunately, could be humans in the forms of labor or sex. It could be any commodity whatsoever. So just like any quote unquote some like business, they're just going to go where the people are going to buy.
How many of these places are populated by people who are indebted, essentially slaves, to the cartel?
No one crosses the border without paying the cartel. If they can't pay, then they're an indentured servant. They still owe the Mexican cartels. And that's for anyone worldwide. It doesn't matter whether you're coming in from Iraq. It doesn't matter if you're an Afghani. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese. We have a record number of Chinese coming in. No matter what your background, no matter what your affiliation or what terrorist group you may think you belong to, or what nation state like the CCP, you still have to abide by the cartel's rules and regulations. When we move them into the US, I say we as the government because unfortunately it's now government subsidized human smuggling. When we move that indentured servant, which is unfortunately the cartel deems as a commodity, into the US, we are literally helping the Mexican cartels move their product across the US.
So how do you feel when you see a child that you know doesn't belong to an adult that gets brought in and they're claiming to be a family?
When you know that you're looking at someone that doesn't belong to someone else, and you know that that little boy and girl is either going to be trafficked in the US to be sold for labor, sold for sex. I'm supposed to be their last hope. But due to policy and due to an international agenda being pushed by our own administration, my hands are completely tied and I can't do anything to help her or him. It is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to compartmentalize in my mind, in my life. And one of the reasons why I'm speaking to you here today. I feel like Satan is ripping my heart out of my chest. And then I feel even worse when I see agents that are also sworn to protect this country and protect that little child be so desensitized that nothing is ever done or nothing is ever said. They are just moved along as if they're on a conveyor belt. No care.